It's Friday, November 15th, 2024, and Fridays are Ask or Tell Me Anything next on the AM Update. So, indeed, it is RFK Jr. for Health and Human Services Secretary. That, if he actually survives the confirmation process, that in and of itself, that alone, is probably worth a Donald Trump vote, because if there's anybody who has the piss and vinegar, the fire in the belly, I keep using that term of art, if there's anybody who has that within them to get to the bottom, actually get to the bottom of holding those responsible for the response to COVID, I think it's got to be RFK Jr. I mean, the guy will go on a tear if he's given access. I mean, he would be basically the country's leading foremost public health administrator. So Donald Trump making that announcement yesterday, RFK Jr., his pick for leading the Department of Health and Human Services. Just crazy times we live in. Let me try to find the cabinet so far. Not too many announcements were made yet yesterday. I should say. The buzz is still going about Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. Not really any major updates yesterday other than HHS, which would be RFK Jr. So there are a few lower level appointments I believe I saw yesterday as well. Crazy times indeed in which we live. We'll begin. Thank you for all of your posts and all of your submissions for Ask or Tell Me Anything this week. I want to give a shout out to Right Wing Dad, who posted a picture from his car. It looks like early in the morning, 5:02 a.m. early in the morning on November 13th this week. Getting caught up this morning on Real AM Update. He says, "Thank you, Right Wing Dad, for listening and for the shout out. Appreciate that." Let's get to submissions. Country Squire says, with the return of President Trump, Christian pro-lifers and medical freedom advocates will need to view him as a baseball coach. He'll keep us in the game, but we still have to pitch in. He'll put us in the rotation, but we still have to get the base hits. Absolutely right. I've maintained Donald Trump is not a panacea. He is not the be-all, end-all. He's not. He's given us a chance. And I was telling my wife last night, I've never been more happy to be wrong about Donald Trump, because this time last year, up until really the assassination attempt, and I still had some doubts about him personally, I just didn't think he was serious about this. I really didn't think anybody in the country was serious about anything. Kind of a dark place, I know. But he is serious. He is hell-bent on tearing poop up in Washington, D.C., and most of his cabinet appointments, most of his appointments so far, I think are proof of that. Say what you want to about Matt Gaetz. Not a huge fan of his personally. If he does Donald Trump's bidding at the Department of Justice, you know what? That would be something else to watch. That could really reverberate for a long time to come. Say what you want to about RFK Jr. Yes, I know he's pro-choice, but he's also pro-life when it comes to the COVID jabs and not making you inject an experimental therapeutic into your body. That's a life issue as well. A life issue is making sure that the food we eat is not filled chock full of poison. That's kind of a life issue too. And he's passionate about that. So it's been over a week now, and I'm just as optimistic, if not more so, probably more optimistic than I was at this time on Friday last week. Wolverine has this with the Department of Government Efficiency ending in July 2026. Works out for Vivek as the special election to fill JD's Senate seat is set for November of that year. You could easily win with an insurmountable resume and name ID as co-head of DOGE. Do you think that played into Vivek's calculus in making his decision? And then there's this also on the Department of Government Efficiency. Dr. Griffin says, how much do you think Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will cut spending versus reshaping or redirecting? Redirection of funds from housing illegal immigrants to housing homeless veterans has positive aspects, but we'll end up spending the same or even more. And let's see, there was one more. Dan T says, is the Department of Government Efficiency a gift that distracts the masses? What's going on? What goes on at Davos stays at Davos? Deception since the inception. Not sure what that is all about. We'll begin with that first one about Doge. Do you think Doge is a gift that distracts the masses? Well, the Department of Government Efficiency, as I understand it, is really more of a ceremonial task force that's going to make, I would guess, probably specific sweeping recommendations to the federal government. We had the Office of Management and Budget or something like that, which was supposed to do the same thing. But they score bills based on affordability. Well, they don't really have. So the same problem, regardless of what Elon and Vivek's recommendations are, that you're going to be faced with the same problem, which is that the government can go tell them to take a flying leap, or they can implement some of the suggestions that they make. I would expect, though, given that Elon Musk, this has kind of been his pet wish, I guess, and now it's his pet project, I would guess he'll be pretty thorough and specific with his recommendations. Whether or not the Trump administration actually takes them in stride, that's another thing. And of course, this having an end date of 2026, we're going to be into the throes of the midterms then. So it's a cool concept. I think it's going to bring a lot of attention and PR to just how much money the government wastes. And yes, it's funny, haha stuff. Like I think I saw the other day spraying gerbils with bobcat urine. I think NIH got like $3 million to do that or something. That's going to be fun. And it's funny, but it's stupid. It's very stupid what the government spends its money on. Those things like that, even if you put them all together, it's a big price tag. It's nothing like reforming entitlements. It's nothing like completely gutting entire government programs, gutting government departments. It's a drop in the bucket compared to all of that. But it's better than draining our strategic petroleum reserve for a quick sugar high at the gas pump, which is what Joe Biden did. I think I saw the other day he drained half of our strategic petroleum reserves as president. How do you like them oranges? Asks, well, that challenging paradigm shift seems to have jumped out of the Overton window. Abortion. It's like, what if instead of abolishing slavery, we just had to win hearts and minds of slave owners in the free marketplace of ideas, much like true salvation and sanctification? This is the way. I think I see what you're saying there, is that if we were talking about baby killing in any other context like slavery, it would be foolish to say, oh, we just need to win the hearts and minds of the slavers. I get what you're saying there. There is, I think, one distinction is that in this day and age, it is in the water table in a way that slavery was not. It was much more, it was not isolated in the sense that it was just a few pockets, but it was isolated in terms of thinking to primarily, not only, but primarily one region and one subsect of our country. With baby killing, it's not. It's much more widespread. So to answer your question, I think the answer is yes. Hearts and minds, but also stone cold laws. The answer is yes. Do you legislate morality? Is morality, is cultural values morality? Does that primarily come from government, or does government law come from culture? And it's a whirlpool. It's a whirlpool. It goes both ways. It absolutely goes both ways. I used to believe that it was only downstream of culture, but it really goes both ways. After Obergefell, that's really, it was around, but that's really when the phenomenon and cancer of transgenderism, if you look back, that's really when it took off. That's legislation for all intents and purposes. Yeah, it was a Supreme Court decision, but that was governance. That was, as we understand it, falsely, but as we understand it, that's law. even though the court has no force to actually enforce law. That had a direct impact, I would say. I don't think it's correlation doesn't equal. I think it's correlation and causation. An explosion in the most demonic form of gender perversion, in the cancer that is transgenderism, that took off after Obergefell back in 2015. And it's been that way for the last decade. It's starting to turn around, though, that's for sure. So, yeah, hearts and minds, we wouldn't say, well, we need to win the hearts and minds of the slavers. But, that doesn't make any sense. But I think in our culture, in our day and age, because of how widespread this evil is, it's a both and. Stone cold law and winning hearts and minds. All right. Anything else? How you like them oranges has another one. Democrats are fear-mongering about Trump's promise to use the might of pen and sword to root out the enemy within, but our biggest enemy within is the GOP, so he's an equal opportunity emperor. Yeah, I hope this is not the case, but I sadly think you're probably correct. Now, John Thune, the new Senate Majority Leader, multiple occasions now, right after he was voted upon, he said, you know what, we're ready to get through Trump's noms as soon as possible. He appeared on Fox News and said, absolutely, we will allow recess appointments if Democrats try to be obstructionists when it comes to Trump's Senate appointees. We will absolutely recess the Senate and allow Trump to pick his cabinet without our advice and consent. And he also said that, he didn't shut the door on Matt Gaetz, although I would still guess that, if the odds of him being approved by the Senate, I'd say they're around 35 to 40% right now. Maybe over 40%. But he didn't throw cold water on that. So he's saying he's talking the talk. I still got to see him walk the walk, because he has been a snake. He has been a snake up with the likes of Mitch McConnell for years in that body. All right. Melissa B. has this. This is from WVLT TV in Tennessee. Headline: Dangerous Venezuelan gang is in every major city in Tennessee. Here's the story from WVLT TV. State leaders are warning of a dangerous gang that formed in prisons in Venezuela called Tren de Aragua that's been spotted in all major cities in Tennessee. Tennessee Bureau of Investigations Director David Roush said the gang has been known for human trafficking and bringing Venezuelan women to the United States and Tennessee illegally. Roush addressed Governor Bill Lee on Tuesday and said that the gang had been active in the state since 2023, but for more than a year had been inactive after arrests were made. However, over the last few months, Roush says there's been an increase in activity once again. He said, quote, they're back in all of our major cities. They are running human trafficking operations, and that's where they start. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigations director went on to add that this gang has been known for not only human trafficking, but organized retail theft and drug crimes. In some cases, members of Tren de Aragua have been known to clash head-to-head with members of the cartel, which has escalated to crimes as severe as murder at all times of day. Boy. Tennessee. What? This is a prison gang. A prison gang running rampant in Tennessee, according to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. Just running around in Tennessee. I mean, think about all the steps that it takes to get from a prison in Venezuela. I mean, do you know what it takes to go to a Venezuelan federal prison? Do you know what type of person you have to be? How violent you have to be to get a sentence in Venezuela? Think of all the steps that it had to take for Venezuelan prison gang members to go from Venezuela to Murfreesboro, to Memphis, to Nashville, to Knoxville. That's only attributable to malice from the previous administration. Yeah, it's funny, haha, as I noted yesterday, to see photos of positively beaming Dr. Jill Biden, beaming Joe Biden smiling Donald Trump. It's funny to see pictures of the Biden family smiling ear to ear with literally Hitler outside the White House. But don't let that distract you from the fact that these people for the last 4 years have actively tried to absolutely wreck this country. And Donald Trump, once again, he's beating my expectations, really. He's beating my expectations. He's providing a window. He's providing a window of time to buy us more time to hopefully start turning this around, really, in every facet. It's going to take a lot more than 4 years. Everybody within the sound of my voice knows that. But Melissa B., thanks for sending that story. When I see stories like that, it is a reminder that, this country has got a shot that it probably doesn't deserve, but we've got a long ways to go. Well, we don't have a long ways to wait or a long time to wait until No Suck Saturday. That's coming up tomorrow morning for our Apple Podcast subscribers. No Suck Saturday. Bella and I are going to start reading a new book. It is a book you might have heard of before called Mere Christianity. I don't know if you've heard that. By one C.S. Lewis. He's this kind of niche author from a few years ago. So we're going to start reading that book. It's going to be a fascinating, I think, conversation for both Bella and I. We've both read this book before. It's been a number of years since I have, but I'm looking forward to that conversation, and I'm looking forward to being back here with you on Monday morning. Thank you for listening again this week. Hope you have a wonderful weekend.